Hi Nigel. I was shocked to discover this morning, that you had suspended the whip from 4 of your councillors for bringing reform into disrepute. I mean, it's hard to know really, isn't it, what would bring reform into disrepute? Like, you'd already lost 2 Kent councillors, one for threatening to kill his wife and one for making lewd comments against women. Great to see that your leader down in Kent, though, Lyndon, is really on it. Like she said, it's business as usual, which, if the leaked Zoom is anything to go by, means that everybody's got to just fucking suck it up. Now, speaking of sucking it up, that was essentially what Stephen Doty said to you today, wasn't it? As he pointed out, and to be fair, he has a point, that of all the people to be speaking about national security, you are not the one. In fact, it seems that a lot of people are pissed off with you for those Russian connections that you keep insisting that you haven't got. Speaking of which, wasn't this an interesting story today? Further proof that it's actually the Russians helping to flood the UK and indeed Europe with what you like to call illegal immigrants. Like, this isn't even a hypothesis, it's a fact. Russian spies are helping people smugglers work out what the weaknesses are to get them into the EU and the UK, and then helping them avoid removal. Now tell me honestly, were you a little bit pissed off when Nadine reposted that story? Speaking of you and your dodgy Russian connections that you keep saying you haven't got, I didn't know anything about this story, that Russia tried to divide California with a kind of Brexit, a Calexit, and you were right in the middle of it, working with an American politician known as Putin's favourite congressman. Cute, isn't it? There you both are on a little fishing trip. Good mates, apparently. Now, that American allegedly offered Julian Assange a pardon if he denied the Russians helped him get all that stuff out, you know, about the Hillary Clinton stuff. Which seems to be another thing that you have in common with him, because here you are leaving the Ecuadorian embassy, remember, when you couldn't remember that you'd been visiting Julian Assange? But you said it was a whole load of cobblers, the suggestion that you'd passed on stuff to Assange from Donald. Speaking of liars, here's Deputy Dick on GB News today. Besides his abhorrent statement about that parents of SEN children were milking the system, like, Deputy Dick clearly doesn't have SEN children because it's really bloody hard to get anything for them, but lovely that he thought that people could do that. He also went on to say it was a blatant lie to say that Reform had ever said that they were going to cut council taxes. In fact, he was quite cross that somebody had suggested that he was lying, even though he was lying. Speaking of disastrous councils, it's really not going well, is it? They're imploding down in Cornwall now. But listen, well done to Deputy Dick and Lee Anderson for this hilarious video where they're trying to claim that Claire Powell is being intimidated. They reminded me of the 2 Rons. Don't pick on Claire. That would be the Claire that back in the day got investigated by the Scouts for some quite nasty social media posts. It's all heating up down in Caerphilly, isn't it? This was a really interesting Vox Pox that one of the Welsh channels did, which supports the fact that you target a demographic that are uneducated, that are disenfranchised, and are somewhat vulnerable. Like, this guy is perfect for you, isn't he? Because you've already said you don't really care about the Welsh language, and he's saying nobody speaks Welsh in Wales anymore. So I thought it must have changed quite a bit from when I was at school, because I learnt Welsh at school, so I went to have a little look. But no, nothing's changed. If anything, they're learning a bit more Welsh in Welsh schools at the moment. That'll be Welsh schools that speak English and they use Welsh as a second language, as opposed to the Welsh schools, because there are Welsh schools where Welsh is the first language and English is the second language. Not that I'm trying to confuse you, Nigel. Although, speaking of confusing you, seemingly VAT has thrown you a curveball. As in, Reform didn't realise that they had to pay VAT on their merchandise. So for clarity, the man that keeps telling us that he's the businessman, that he's the person that knows everything there is to know about running a country, didn't even know that he had to pay VAT. It's no wonder they're saying that the cracks are beginning to show, isn't it, Nigel? I say cracks not to be confused with potholes. The potholes that seemingly your Reform councillors in Derbyshire misunderstood the data about. Anyway, look, I won't keep you because clearly you've got to sort out that fact thing. But before I go, don't forget you still haven't declared that trip you made over to Trump, and you do need to. All right, good chats as you were.